Hello. Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me? Someone needs to let me know if you can hear me. Okay. I was like, if not, I'm going to assume that you can't hear me and I will go into troubleshooting mode. But great. Hi, everyone. I see, let's see what I see. Lane, Edward, Sierra, and Elaine, I guess I see you twice. That's okay. You probably have two devices or two are signed in twice, and it usually works itself out, so no worries. How are you all doing? Hopefully well. Good. Yeah, I'm doing well too. Only day 2 of the semester, so far so good. Edward says good as well. Yeah. Anyone on campus today? I'm not on campus, so I always ask you how are things on campus? Edward, yeah, how are things? Is it packed? Usually the first week's the most packed, but hopefully you were able to find parking if you drive to campus. Parking is okay. This is what I've been warning my freshmen of, that the first week you have to there's just certain periods of the day in which it's really hard to find parking. The new parking structure, well, I don't know if it counts as new anymore, but can help. But I figured with more people back on campus this semester that it gets tough during certain times of the day. Like, no worries. I figure that's what happened. It happens to my mom all the time when I Zoom with her. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Kelly. You all are signing in early, so I'm always at least 10 minutes early to class, if not 15 minutes early, and so I always get to chat with those of you that are here a little bit early. Hi, Sierra. Oh, okay, this is just, it signed you on twice too, Sierra, never mind. Like, usually you don't have to do much, you just give it a minute and then it sorts itself out. But yeah, parking stuff usually what, around noonish, right before noon, parking gets really bad, and then around this time-ish too, around 3, 4, because people with the afternoon classes are coming in, and then it gets tough again. Oh, the battery. Ooh. I'm like knocking on wood that I don't have any computer trouble this semester. Hi, Pamela. I'm just saying hi to people as you're signing in. You're not in any kind of trouble. Don't freak out. How's the first week so far? All the classes going well? Or not so much? Hopefully they're going well. You can tell me in the chat. Hi, Jose, and hi, Casey. I'm just saying hi to those of you signing in. And I'm also trying to learn your names. Yeah. Was someone gonna say something? And no? Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, I see. No need to correct spelling in the chat. We're all trying to type too fast. Actually, I think you're all better spellers when you type than I am. When I'm trying to type on my phone lately, I haven't been able to type a single thing correctly. So everything's going well this first week. Anybody already have homework? My earrings, yes, I love these earrings. They're it's a little traditional Mexican doll. I bought them from a company called Cadena Collective online, or I found them on Instagram and then through their website. And I think I threw out the name of the gal that makes them. She makes, it's Le Chic Miami. I'm like, I don't have a discount code to give you all, but I'm like, because I really like her earrings. I have some avocado ones that I'll wear at some point as well, because they make really nice. They're light because they're made out of like a really light kind of wood. Homework already. Oof. Okay. Tell what class is it for? What classes are giving you work already? I'm like, history professors tend to wait until week 2 to give you a lot of work. Readings. Let's say that is that for history? Because I'm like, if that's for history, then I will tell them like history will definitely give you reading assignments week 1. French. French. And is that Asian American Studies? Yes. Okay, well, but those are good classes. I was a French and history major in college. So yes. Bio homework. Oh no. Those of you that are bio majors or biochemistry or any of those majors where you have to take bio, oof, I feel for you. Because it says for sociology, okay, yeah, the social classes do also give a lot of reading, and it's a lot of overlap between what you do in social classes and history classes. I'm trying to remember if I give you readings. No, I'm not giving you any reading to do this weekend. Hi, those of you who are joining in. I see Alexis, I see Caitlin, and Arena. Am I saying that correctly? Like, correct me if I say your name wrong.
It's Arena, like sand
Arena.
in Spanish.
Oh,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I'm just going to remember to say it in Spanish. Arena. Usually I get in trouble when I pronounce names in Spanish, as I end up not pronouncing them correctly. But you're perfect then that way, because I can say it in Spanish. Hi, Katie and Rudy, who just joined us.
Hi.
I hope you're all doing well. I was asking earlier if anybody's on campus. Are those of you that are just joining in, anyone on campus today?
No, I'm not. I'm barely driving home though from work, so I'm on my phone if that's okay.
Oh God, don't tell me that. Focus on your
Yeah.
driving, Rudy. But yes, you can be on your phone. It's so good. Jose said you're home now. Okay, so you already did the campus thing. It was like a festival. Okay, that's what I was trying to ask some of my Orny classes about, how crazy things were on, and because all the different departments and things on campus have like booths and raffles and things that they're doing. And then I always expect that there's at least one person who is on campus right now, like you're sitting down somewhere taking the class, and I'm like, that's totally fine. You don't need to hide the fact. En Perla, see, in the library, there's always somebody in the library. So then I'll know, for example, that I can't ask Perla to like turn her mic on because she's at the library and she doesn't want to make a scene. And I'm like, okay, but she can type in the chat. Hi, those of you that are jumping in. Let's see, who did I miss? Amelia, Brian, Fatima, Michael. I see you all here. Aha, see, now everybody who's at the library is coming out of the woodwork. Yes. I'm like, and it's great when you can get a seat at the library, and then you're like, if you like working at the library, you're like hoarding that seat as long as you can. I do miss a little bit of that energy of being on campus. I haven't been on campus since the pandemic started, so it's been a while for me. Hi, Estefania. I'm just saying hi if you're jumping in. No, don't panic. I'm not asking you to do anything yet. We're going to give everybody about a minute still. It's 4:29 on my clock. I usually do start on time, especially this first day, because there's a lot to go through. And then And also, if I can let you out early, I will. Hi, Madison, Vanessa. Let's see who else joined. The caption. So let me see everybody's name. Emily, Hyron, Jiren. If you can correct me on the pronunciation. I usually I need to hear it a couple times and then I'll get it correct. I also see, now everybody's joining. So Mustafa, hello. I have another Alexa, Janine. Okay. If you have just one word in your name, I'm like, I don't know where it breaks off, but hi, Stephanie and Ashley. Making sure I see everybody. Okay. Okay, more people are joining in, and I see that a few people still have to join, so they'll be probably joining in this next minute. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, hi everyone, welcome to History 2050. This is Section 3, Race and Ethnicity in U.S. History. No one can be in the wrong class, because I had to have sent you the Zoom link. But if for some reason you're in the wrong class, now's your chance to sneak off, log off without anybody knowing that you accidentally hit the wrong Zoom. So there was a professor change. Oops. Give me 1 second to log off my email so we don't get notifications while I'm on Zoom. But there was a professor change last minute. So some of you might have signed up for this class because Dr. Dennis was teaching it. And that I'm so sorry, she's a great professor. I love Dr. Dennis. You're stuck with me unless you're going to drop the class and look for another one. Sometimes these things just happen last minute, and every professor that teaches the 2050 courses teaches that a little bit different. So part of what I'm going to do today is kind of go through my approach to this class, show you the kind of work that I'm expecting you all to do in this class, and then we'll go from there. I do have a bit of a waiting list, so if anybody drops, I might let some of the people on the waiting list in, but as of now, we do have a full class. So really quickly, we do have some freshmen in the class. These classes usually are a pretty good mix of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So this early part is going to be a bit boring for those of you who are juniors and seniors, because I have to make sure everybody knows how to get to the Canvas course. I see Canvas tells me that most of you have actually found the Canvas course, but not everybody. So I'm just really quickly going to go through that. Canvas is the system, learning management system that we use at Cal State LA. If you took classes at any of the Los Angeles community colleges, it's the same one that most of the community colleges now use. The easiest way to access Canvas and the course that I will be the website I will be using for our class is through your My Cal State LA sign-in. So if you go through the Cal State LA homepage, you have to click where it says My Cal State LA. This is how you sign on to most things at Cal State LA now, and you just use your Cal State LA email and password to sign on to it. This is not asking me to sign on because I was already logged on. And then under quick launch here, you have all these assortment of links. And the one you'll need to access the course website is Canvas. Most of your professors now are pretty well versed in Canvas. And so if they have a course website, usually it'll be on Canvas. A few don't, but this is where you'll be able to see which of your courses offer a Canvas course. So they should all become visible. So here you can see that I have 3 different class websites. Ours is the one with the Statue of Liberty in color. This is the other section of this class I'm teaching. But if you go on there, you see how I'm organizing my Canvas page. Every professor organizes it a bit different. I set it up so that on the home page, you have easy access to how to get a hold of me. The easiest, fastest way to reach me is email. All the classes that I'm teaching this semester are online, and so I'm not physically going to be on campus, but I make myself available online a lot. So email, some of you have already discovered, is fast and easy. I tend to respond fast. Sometimes I don't. If I'm doing family things, I'm teaching another class, or have a lot of meetings on a day, it might take me a little while longer, but I am very reachable via email. The second easiest way to reach me is on my Zoom office hours. This semester, I'm going to be on Zoom for office hours on Wednesday from 11 to noon, and on Thursday from 12:15 to 1:15. So it's earlier in the day. You might have classes during these times. I pick these times because it's what works with my schedule, but I am always happy to meet after our class, or send me an email, and can usually find a time to meet. I don't want you to be scared to reach out and ask me for an office hour appointment at a different time. I'm always willing to do that, and I've never had a problem making my schedule work with somebody else's. Okay, then you have a bunch of links in the homepage to the syllabus and then to the weekly modules. I divide our class up by weeks. It's just what works for me, for my brain. I need to divide up the semester into weeks. It helps me know exactly where I am in the semester and also count down to when it ends. So I organize it in weeks instead of like units and by material. This is just how I function. And so the things you will need this week to find is the syllabus, and then the week 1 module, which is where you'll find everything you need for this week. Thank you. I do try to be clear, although I think like Dr. Dennis does, I really like the way she does her courses. But if you click on syllabus, it'll take you to one of the modules in which I've put just a bunch of information that you might at some point need. At the very top is that syllabus, right? I will come back to that because I will go over the syllabus today. Below that, some rubrics. You don't need any of that yet. Research links, you won't need that either. But I put in a PDF of a passion planner. It's a planner. The only reason why I linked this one is because they offer free PDFs for students. Otherwise, you can buy a physical planner for them. This is one that I have. I do use them. But I want to show you that you don't have to spend any money to get organized. And I want you to think about how you are planning to stay organized this semester. Because it's the number one thing we learn as students is how to manage our time, how to get organized. If you're a freshman or a sophomore, maybe there's not a ton of organization you need, but you want to start learning it now so that by the time you're a junior and senior, things don't get so overwhelming. You also want to start doing this if you have a lot of family responsibilities, if you work full-time or even part-time. You want a way to make sure that you always know where you're doing and when you have time to do things. For me, I like breaking down my day, or actually, I like breaking my organization down by week, and then by every 30 minutes of the day. So I like the way Passion Planner does this. But again, the only reason I link this is because they give you a free PDF. If you Google how to get organized, you get a bunch of other resources. But it's really important. For example, let me ask you, how many of you are planning on not procrastinating this semester, on like staying on top of your assignments, not submitting anything late, and not leaving things to the last minute? You can raise your hand. How many are you? That's the plan. That's the goal for the semester. Okay, see? I'm like, those of you that aren't raising your hand, I'm kind of side-eyeing you. And Jose is saying that's always the plan. And that's the thing. Okay. We make these plans, right? We have a goal. This semester, I'm not going to do what I did last semester. I'm not going to leave things to the last minute. I'm going to stay organized. The question is, how? How are you planning on not procrastinating? How are you planning on staying on top of things, deadlines and assignments? If you already know how you would answer that question, now I'm starting to, I can get to the point where I can believe you that you're actually going to be organized and stay on top of your work. If you don't have a plan, I'm worried about you, because it's one thing to say, yes, I'm planning on not procrastinating, but how you do it is the hard part. So who has a plan? Who wants to share? What's your plan on not procrastinating? getting everything in on time, staying organized? Or tell us what's one of your strategies for doing this. Okay, now are these everybody's hands up right now? I'm assuming you want to talk. So I'm going to start. Edward, you have your hand up. Did you want to share? No. Okay, now I'm seeing people in the chat, but I saw Emily. Did you want to share what's one thing you're doing to stay organized?
I'm going to make a Excel sheet on Google Sheets, and I'm gonna put all my classes and due dates. So when I click organize A to Z, it'll organize it in all the due dates that are set in the different classes, so I complete them on time.
An Excel sheet with due deadline, due dates and all of this. Great. Yeah. Katie, you have your hand up. What is your strategy?
Yeah, so I like using Google Calendar. It's super helpful just to keep me all organized. I put all my syllabus dates in. So yeah.
Perfect. Google Calendar. I'm seeing some of you in the chat also putting it using an app. And better, those of you that are saying Google or the Apple Calendar, whatever it is, you have to, at this point, you need to get specific about what you're using and start putting things in there. Some of you bought a planner. If you bought a planner, the trick is use it. Use it. Otherwise, it stays somewhere or like gets used 1 week and then you lose track of it. Reminders on your phones. Yes, that's all good plans. Emily's also saying in an Excel sheet, allocating specific hours for each classes on different days. Yeah, Janine, that's how my brain works. That's why for me, Passion Planner works. Okay, I like all the physical planner. Yes. A whiteboard. Yes, those are all like concrete plans to doing it. Those of you that are saying like, I'm going to do my homework ahead of time, Arlene, that's great, but that's still a little vague, right? You want to have something else, even if it's just a simple calendar on your phone, that one that you print out that helps you remind you when things are due and when you need to work on them. Right? I'm saying this because I've learned all of this like the hard way. And it's taken until now that until I started teaching, when I really there was no excuse. I needed to stay on top of everything for me to really figure out how to time manage better than I did when I was a student. Okay, so find something. You don't have to use the Passion Planner, but use something to stay organized. Then I also have here under support a bunch of links that, are these hands up? Oh no, they're left over from okay. That you might not need right now, but at some point you or someone you know might need them. And I want to make sure you know that these programs exist on campus. One, we're still doing a laptop and hotspot loan program. And even if you're thinking, oh, I should have already asked for it, usually there's a deadline. No, you can still get a laptop or a hotspot from the school. If at any point during the semester something happens with your computer and all of a sudden you don't have any way of getting to your course websites for the Zooms for all of this, you can request a laptop or hotspot loan from the university. Sometimes they have limited amounts, or they'll say like, oh, we run out, but usually they have some stashed somewhere that can be used for emergencies. I also have the link to the writing center, tutoring and writing center. That's something that might be useful later on when we get to writing, where there's going to be quite a bit of writing in this class. And my experience is that most of you think you're not good writers. Some of you know you're good writers. If you're a good writer, usually you know it. Some of you think you're not good writers. And one of the best ways to improve on your writing is to have someone else read your work, right? You don't always know what's wrong with your own writing, right? Because you're just putting things on paper. You're going off of what you know. It takes somebody else looking at it sometimes to catch, okay, what's going on in this paper. We'll talk more about that once we get closer to submitting papers. Student Health Center. I have found that too many students at Cal State LA still don't know that we have a Student Health Center where you all can get either free or low cost healthcare. Usually basic healthcare like checkups, vaccines. You know, if you're traveling abroad and you need to get your vaccines up to date, you need a physical, you can get that at the Student Health Center. They also have most birth control options available to you. This can be handy, especially if you're like on your parents' insurance and you don't want them to know, blah, blah, blah. Student Health Center, this is not their first time working with students and who are on their parents' insurance. And most of it, like I said, is free or low cost. But they also have counseling and psychiatric services. There are therapists, psychiatrists that can help. They tend to get booked up during certain times of the semester, but there are workshops, there are group therapy, there's just a lot of resources. They're understaffed and probably underpaid, but it's there. And you need to know that it's there in case you ever need it. We also have a food pantry that is unfortunately only open during very limited times. So the reason the link is up here is so in case you ever need it, you know what times are available. So they're only open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2, which I think is kind of limited, but they're also, under-resourced. And they're located at the Student Union, 3rd floor, at room 308. Again, you might not need any of this now, but at some point in the semester you might, or you might know somebody that ends up needing one of these resources. We also have emergency housing available to students. I worked here a few years before I realized that this was available. Some of these things we just don't get a lot of publicity, like a lot of students just don't know about it. But there's dorm rooms on campus, and they have some that they leave for emergency situations when a student doesn't have anywhere else to stay. It's not a permanent solution to a housing crisis, but it's there to help you all. The university should be helping. Even though I find the things we offer limited, at least there are some things to help. Okay, then the way I organize then the rest of the modules, like I said before, weeks. This is week 1 of the semester. So for every week, I have a list of things that you'll need. The first is the Zoom link for this class. It's the same link that I've already emailed and that you've all used to get on this Zoom. So you can bookmark it, save it, do all that. Unless there's a technology issue, the link won't change. This week, there's nothing to read. But if you look ahead, for example, week 2, next week, you will have a reading that's due by Monday. What this means is that we're going to be talking about the reading on Tuesday. It's on Tuesday. Oh my God, I'm going to change this. I have some classes that are Monday, Wednesday, and some that are Tuesday, Thursday. And so sometimes I make mistakes like this, that when I'm going through it, I'm like, I can correct it. But so by Tuesday of next week is due. So if you find yourself with extra time or are trying to work ahead, you can always read ahead, right? And then almost every week, you are going to have to do some sort of writing assignment for me. Sometimes it's going to be something small and simple, like introduce yourself. Like, I don't know, a third of this class has already completed this first assignment. This is why I didn't make it available before yesterday. Some of you all are just like, yeah, I'm going to work ahead, which admirable, but I'm like, don't burn out yet. If you already completed it, you don't have to worry about it. It's done. You're done with assignments for the week. For me, at least. For those of you that have not, you'll want to do this. It's due by Sunday. It's due Sunday by midnight. So you have some time, but you can come on here and actually I'm looking at it. Let me show you how it'll look exactly for you. It looks like this for you. Right. This is a get to know you assignment where it's not a discussion board. No one else in the class is going to see your answers other than me. I'm the only one that gets to see your answers. And so, you can tell me whatever I need to know about you. And a few things of just like, I'm interested in, like, do you believe in aliens? Why or why not? And to complete it really quickly for the freshmen, or anybody who hasn't used Canvas before, you go to start assignment. And then I've told the system to give you pretty much every option available on how to submit the assignment. You can upload, like if you complete the assignment on a Word document, you can save the Word document and then upload it here. Or on Google Docs, you can save the Google Doc and then upload the file here. Or you can do this text entry, right? Where you just type in, right? You're typing in your answers one, and then you write your answer. The tricky thing with these text entries options is that sometimes students experience some sort of tech issue, and like the page will refresh, you'll hit the wrong thing, and all your answers are erased. You want to avoid that. So what I always tell students, start the assignment somewhere else, Google Doc, Word, somewhere else, and then copy and paste it here or upload a file here. Because you don't want to have the computer erase all the work you've already done. And then you hit submit. And once you submit, by the way, anything on Canvas, you can go back in, click on the assignment, and you should be able to see that you've submitted something. You won't worry too much at first because this is a simple assignment. It's worth 10 points, so it's low stakes. You just need to answer these questions. One thing I'll point out, though, is that on number 8 here, I asked you to make sure you put a picture of yourself on your Canvas profile. You do that by going under your account. I can't force you to put a picture of yourself if you don't want to, but I really want to encourage you all to put a picture. It helps me a lot. I've noticed that when I am grading things, when I'm responding to discussion board posts, that it helps me remember you all and get to know you all when there's a picture. Right? Some students will put a picture of their pet or their favorite bird, their favorite animal, or just a landscape picture. That's fine. As long as there's a picture, it kind of helps me get to know you all and remember your names. So, and you want that. You want your professors to remember something about you. One, because it helps us remember that you're a human, that there's a person behind the assignment. And that never hurts. And especially if you're taking classes in your major, you want those professors to remember you. You might be taking several classes with them. There might be professors that someday might write you a letter of recommendation, things like that. And if you're taking an online class where you're not turning on your camera, you want them to be able to identify you in some way. So that's my pitch for why you should put a picture, regardless of what it is. So let me go back to modules, which is, again, where all the material for the class lives. So like I said, okay, right now I only have week 1 or week 2, but over the course of the next week, I'm going to make the entire semester visible to you. So don't freak out when you get notifications on Canvas. Canvas might send you a bunch of emails saying the professor just updated the website, assignment added. It's because I will make everything visible to you. So at any point, if anybody wants to work ahead, you can. Most people don't, but you can. Let's see what else. Okay, now let's go back to the syllabus, because there's a few things in here that I want to make sure you all know as we go through the semester. So I'm going to go to my file of it here on Word. So one, this class will be entirely online, and it's going to be taught via live Zoom meeting. So it's synchronous. It's not just you log on your own and you do the work. No, I want to meet with you on Tuesdays and Thursdays and go through the material with you. I find that it helps with online classes to be meeting regularly. It helps you not procrastinate, or at least procrastinate less, and it helps me catch when you're not understanding some of the material. And so I can catch that and kind of fix that. I will be recording all of the Zoom classes, yes. And then once the recording is done, what I do is I go back into modules and I will upload the link under the week. And usually it's under attend. that the link will be posted. Yes, so I do record that. It's been really useful, not just for when you miss class, but students have told me it's really useful for when they're doing the assignment, whatever the weekly assignment is, that if their notes are not complete, or you weren't paying attention for part of it, being able to go back into the recording has helped students. So I do make it available. Okay, so this course, you all signed up for a course on race and ethnicity in US history. So this encompasses all of US history, from 1400, which is usually when we start teaching US history, to today. That is a lot. I mean, usually we divide US history into two and we teach it over the course of 2 semesters. For 2050, we compress it all into 1 semester. And we say that we're going to focus it just on race and ethnicity, or topics of race and ethnicity. That's a whole lot of US history that I can't possibly cover every detail of US history in 1 semester. So part of what you need to know is that not only are we going to cover these topics of race and ethnicity, but I happen to be an expert on gender and history of science, health history. So we're going to cover a lot of those topics. I'll get to that in a second as well. But this will cover your GE requirements for American institutions and for race and ethnicity. So I know that's why some of you signed up for it, because you get several GEs checked off. That's fine. That's totally fair. Books. The books that I will be using are going to be a little bit different than what Dr. Dennis had ordered from the bookstore. Both of these books you should be able to get from the bookstore, but you don't have to, because every chapter that I'm assigning to you, I have a PDF of. You can thank a class I had about a year and a half ago. I scanned every page I assigned for that class, and so now I have PDFs of everything. Excuse me. If you've already purchased any of the books, you can return them, especially if you purchased them from the Cal City Lake bookstore. All you have to do is take the book back and tell them that there was a change in professor and that the new professor is not using the book. That usually, like, they can see in the computer system that indeed there was a change of professor. They won't ask you anything else. That's enough to get a refund on for the book. If not, all they need sometimes is just a note from me saying that I'm not using the book, and I can do that to you via email. I can call them up and have them and tell them that I won't be using the book. So if anybody experiences any issues with the bookstore, just let me know. And that's something where, like, I have some amount of power there, so I can help out. However, you might want to purchase the books. Like if you're a history major or you really like these topics, maybe you want to have the book. In which case they are easy to find online, and most of these books are somewhere around the $20-25 range, although you can find them for cheaper on some sites. For example, this one, A Different Mirror by Ronald Takaki. This one has several editions of it, so if you want to have the physical copy of it, get a hold of it. Any edition of it will be fine. And the second one here is Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present. From A Different Mirror, we're going to be reading most of A Different Mirror. I think there's like 2 or 3 chapters I don't use from it, but the rest we're reading. So if you're like, should I buy it, should I not? From Medical Apartheid, we're reading about 3/4 of it. So not all of it, but a good chunk of it. This is just for those of you that want to have the physical book in front of you. Gives you an idea of how extensively we are going to use these readings. Jose says you pay $26 for both books. Amazon, or where did you find them? Tell everybody in the chat, because I'm like, yeah, tell each other where. This is mainly, again, for those of you that like having the physical book. If not, then the PDF is here for you. Then the breakdown of your grade. Okay, so these Canvas activities, they're mostly going to look like discussion board posts throughout the semester. They're worth 35% of your grade. Those discussion board posts are based on the lecture and the reading for the week. So what I've been telling students, I'm like, I really tried to be realistic about what I tell you. Can you pass this class without attending a live Zoom session? Yes. Yes, if you're going to watch the recordings. If you don't watch the recordings, you're going to be in a little bit more trouble. Because one, we're going to discuss the readings in class, plus we're going to add to the information from the readings. And there's a few questions every week that you can only get the answers to from the course, from the meetings. So if you know you're somebody who like, yes, I can go back, I've done this before, I will actually watch the recordings, then yes, you can get away with not attending the live Zoom. If you already know you're not very good at working on your own, right, that you need to have somewhere to be and someone to be giving you reminders, I think it's really hard to pass the class without attending. So I think it's valuable to attend. I think there are things like the experience of having a discussion, of listening to each other, of ideas that pop in while you're talking to each other or while you're talking to the professor that you can't replicate. But like I said, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. And I'm like, okay, if you actually watch the recordings, you can do this. But I think that, like, again, I think you can't replicate the talking experience. In terms of written assignments, you're going to have two major projects for me. One, I'm going to skip this first one because the first one you're going to work on is this racism in nursing research project. I'm going to give you a place where you can find resources where you can hear firsthand accounts from nurses talking about their experience in the nursing field, sometimes as nurses, sometimes as patients, and their experience with racism. You're going to write a rough draft and a final draft for me, and that's one way in which we're going to be working with primary sources. And then the second thing you're going to be writing for me is an analysis of a documentary we're going to watch towards the end of the semester. We're going to watch Belly of the Beast. It's about the forced sterilization of women in California prison. That gives you an idea of one of the major themes I'm going to focus on in the class, which is this kind of medical history, forced sterilizations, this kind of racism within the health field. Then the last thing here, 10% of your grade. You can't get an A in this class without meeting with me once during the semester. I find that this is how I can catch when things are going wrong, how I get to know you all a little bit better, especially in an online class where I'm not physically seeing you. Most of you don't turn on your camera, so I don't even know what you might look like. So I force you to come meet with me at some point during the semester. It can be as simple as you come to my office hours. That's it. For most people, the meeting takes somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes. You don't have to prepare anything for these meetings. You just show up. I do all the work of like, what are we going to talk about? Right. And it's usually just, okay, it might just be chit-chatting about the semester, how things are going. If you come meet with me, like right around the time where you have to submit a rough draft or a final draft, then we talk about that, about how the project is going. You could bring a draft in for me to read, and then that takes care of several things, right? You can get feedback on the project you're working on, and you get the 10% of your grade. Some of you, I already know, I always get a couple of people who week one, they meet with me and they get the 10% of the grade done with. Or you can strategically choose when you're going to meet with me, right before one of these assignments, something like that, which is fine, as long as you don't forget to meet with me. And I will be reminding you throughout the semester that I'm available. Under course requirements, I basically do what I just did, a quick summary of each assignment. For students with disabilities, if you are already registered through the Office for Students with Disabilities, you don't need to worry about anything. You don't need to tell me anything. They send me a communication and let me know what kind of accommodations people need. If you haven't yet registered through the OSD office, then you want to do that as soon as possible. That way there's no gap in when you're getting accommodations for things. Let's see, Zoom protocol. Okay, this is a big or more important here. Not more important, it's equally as important. That this is an online class. We're going to be talking about race and ethnicity a lot in this class. And some of the topics are a little bit touchy, make people uncomfortable, and that's okay. I want, like, sometimes the goal is to make you uncomfortable, and I want you all to feel comfortable, at least sharing your experience, sharing your thoughts, right? Without fearing that people are going to make fun of you or that people are going to get confrontation or anything like that. No, this is going to, I don't allow that in my classes, and it's usually not a problem as long as everyone is respectful with one another. But yeah, we're gonna get uncomfortable starting on Thursday. I'm gonna ask you all to answer a question that I think will make a lot of people uncomfortable, but it will help us set a baseline of what does race and ethnicity mean when we're talking about it in a history class. Right? Because it is a little bit different. In sociology and ethnic studies, people talk about these topics in different ways, and we want to establish, a common definition of the way we will be talking about it in history. Also, like I noticed, most of you did not turn on your cameras. I can't force you to turn on your camera, but I do want to encourage you to turn on your camera. I'll have my camera on. You see my office. Some of you might have been seen a few minutes ago that my door opened and then the dogs ran away. Right? I know some of you are on campus. That's okay if you feel comfortable turning your camera. I want to see you. So Arena now gets an A+ because I can see her face for today. So and Katie does too. And look, I can see, and I'm like, I have an idea where on campus you're at. And which is always lovely, right? And sometimes things will happen behind you, right? I've had people where they have their camera on and all of a sudden somebody walks behind them, stops and looks. Totally fine. It's what happens with online classes. If you have pets, I want to see your pets. I have 2 pups that ran out of my office, but when they get needy, they're on my lap, and you might get to see them in class. But I always say, like, okay, there's a cat tax, a pet tax in here. I want to see your pet. Parenting, sometimes with childcare falls through, and you might have to do class with a child on your lap. Totally fine. Less of an issue in online because, like, if you don't turn on your camera, I don't even know that you've got a kid on your lap. But like, I've had students who bring their kids into class every once in a while because some emergency happened, childcare fell through, and I'm like, yes, as long as you're okay with your kid hearing what I'm talking about that day, bring them. I much rather you're here participating than not. Communication. Okay, this is important. If you were not paying attention before, pay attention now. I said that email is a great way to reach me, and that is true. What I see a lot of students, especially freshmen, struggle with is what to call their professors. Like, a lot of you try to avoid the issue by typing in your email, hello, and then going straight to whatever you need. But some of you who are sophomores, juniors, and seniors can tell the freshmen, what is the safest thing to call your professors? What's the title you use for them? I'll ask it another way. Should you call your professors Miss or Mr.? I'm like, someone's got to put it in the chat at least. No. Yes, you don't want to call your professor Miss or Mr. You want to use thank you. You want to use professor, and Evelyn just put it in, and Caitlin too. Yes, the safest thing is to say professor and then their last name. So Professor Cardona, Professor so and so. Safest thing, right? I put, and you'll notice that in all my emails I sign off as Dr. Cardona, as I do have a PhD. Most of your professors have PhDs, and so usually it's pretty safe to call them doctor, so and then their last name. Yeah, I like to use my title. I don't really use it in any other capacity. I don't force people to call me Dr. Cardona. Because some professors are like, they are very specific about what you need to call them. I had a few when I was a student. I don't force anybody to do it. I use it when I sign off in my emails because I'm still pretty proud of my PhD. The number of Latina women who have PhDs is not very high. It's something like 3% of people with PhDs are Latina women. And so I'm darn well going to use mine. But again, I'm not going to get offended if you don't call me Dr. Cardona or Professor Cardona. It's fine. Especially it's your first year in college. It's a little hard to like shift your brain from calling everybody Miss or Mr. to Professor or Doctor. So most people won't get offended. What I do ask when you email me, though, is two really important things. Like, okay, I don't really care that much about what you call me, but tell me what class you're in. Oh, please tell me what class you're in, for a couple of reasons. I'm teaching several US history classes, so you can't tell me you're in the US history class. And I'm teaching 2 sections of the race and ethnicity in US history class. So if you tell me you're in the race and ethnicity class, I'm like, which one? You have to tell me that you're in the 430 class or section 3, right? Some way of telling me which one you're in so I can give you the correct information. And tell me your name. Oh, please tell me your name. Sometimes I'll get an email from a student and it's from like your private email. And the system can't tell me your name and you don't tell me your name in the email. And then I'm like, okay, who am I talking to? So please remember to use your name and to tell me what class you're in. 2 most important things. Other than that, I'm like, I prefer formal email format where you're like, hello, Professor Cardona, and then complete sentences and then your name and everything. But I've given up on that. Most of us, I'll include myself, but especially the younger generations, you Gen Zers, you use email like a text message, because you're answering and sending emails on your phone, right? And that's just the norm. Those of us older people will need to just get used to it. Bella has a great question. What if you email me through Canvas? It's perfect. Canvas is perfect, yeah. Canvas helps make sure that you don't make a mistake like spelling my email incorrectly, right? So sometimes when a student tells me that they emailed me and I'm like, oh, I didn't get your email, it's usually that you spelled it incorrectly. Like you'll notice my email is C Cardone. They cut off the A at the end and they added a 7. Why? I don't know. I must be the 7th person with the last name Cardona and they cut it off. But so a Canvas message is safe. Safe to use. Okay, other really important point here. I'm like, you don't want to miss this one either. Late work. I do accept late work because I'd much rather you turn something in than to get a 0. A 0 really hurts you, especially in this class. A 0 in any assignment will hurt your overall grade. So I've developed this clause. I didn't invent it. I stole it from a professor at Cal State Channel Islands that calls it the shit happens clause. And I noticed that students at Cal State LA didn't want to use the word shit. So I changed it to the life happens clause. It gives you 3 days on any assignment, no questions asked, 3 extra days. So you can use it on a discussion board post, on the research paper, probably even on the final paper. 3 days. You don't have to tell me anything, no excuse, because sometimes really it comes down to you procrastinated and then you had 3 papers due the same weekend. And how are you going to do that, right? If it's Friday, you realize you have 3 papers due on Sunday. Oof, that you might not be able to do it. And so my attitude anyways is that if all you need is a couple of extra days to complete the assignment, then take it. Take the extra days, complete the assignment. I won't take any points off. Right now, if you're going to be later than that, then I might penalize it for being late, more late. Unless, you know, there's an excused reason, right? If there's a death in the family, if you're sick, right? Chances are that several of you will catch COVID either for the first time or for, again, over the course of the semester. And what the research so far on COVID says that you need your rest while you're fighting COVID, right? If you actually rest, it diminishes your chances of getting long COVID, and it makes the recovery better, just if you get your rest. So I would say if you're sick, and you need more time on something, just let me know. Just let me know, not a problem. Right? Don't freak out about that stuff. That's a legitimate reason why you need more time on something. Some of this technology stuff I think is I covered when talked about the laptop and hotspot loan program, and I will do a whole thing on plagiarism with you next week. So we'll come back to that. But I do really quickly want to show you what the rest of the schedule in this class looks like. Well, you'll notice you have something due almost every week, discussion board posts. But notice how, like week 2, you have that reading to do, and then you're going to have a Canvas discussion. But it's not due during the week. It's due Sunday by midnight. So that's, again, because my brain functions in terms of weeks. And in my head, the week starts Monday and it ends Sunday. So it's at the end of the week that your assignment is due. Right? On Canvas, I put the due dates in. So if you use Canvas as kind of your tracker for assignments due, that will give you the exact day and time to do it. You can thank students like 4 years ago. If it were up to me, I would make all your assignments due on Friday. But students were like, no, Sunday. I don't know why you all want to be working on Sunday, but it's Sunday by midnight. However, you can always submit these assignments ahead of time, right? Like after Thursday, you're like, I got all the information I need to answer the discussion board questions. Well, then answer them, get the assignment out of the way, right? Or you can procrastinate like you told yourself you wouldn't do and wait till Sunday. And that you can see here, that's almost every week. There are going to be a few weeks towards the end of the semester where you won't have anything due, but at the beginning, I'm trying to set the routine of what you do in my class. Some discussions, by the way, are not very involved. Some of them are, will take you 20, 30 minutes to do, and some might take you a little bit longer, depending on the reading, depending on the material, right? The first one hopefully will be easy, and then they'll start getting harder. But you'll notice we're starting right off the bat talking about myths in American history. So kind of setting the tone about race and ethnicity in US history. We're going to start with colonization and indigenous people in the Americas. And that's related to myths in American history, right? How we create an idea of what Native people are, who they are, what their role in what will become the United States is going to be, and then how we create the category of whiteness. Right? These ideas of race are not biological, they don't come natural, we created them. So what did that mean at that point, right, in American history? We are going to get into the politics of US history because right now in the US, there are lawmakers creating laws about how US history is taught, especially in K through 12 classrooms. All over the country, people are making laws about how US history should be taught. So it is political. How you teach US history is political. It always tells us, right? The case I will make throughout the semester is that history is not just what happened. There are things that happened, right? Something happened in 1699. Things happened in 1776. What we're arguing about is not what happened, it's the story we tell about what happens and why it's meaningful. And so where we start teaching US history is really important about what story we're telling, right? And so we're going to talk about this debate of the 1619 project. And yes, Sebastian, the story behind it. I'm like, are you a history major? Usually the history majors get taught really right away that history is not about the facts, it's the story. And the founding fathers. So we'll talk about the founding fathers and how they've become these kind of heroic figures and why there's been such a pushback recently on trying to portray them more accurately, right? Because there's no question, right? Like Thomas Jefferson, who wrote "All men are created equal," had slaves. He enslaved his own children, right? So how we come to terms with that says a lot about who we are and about how we understand ourselves in this country, right? Regardless of who we are, and some of us are immigrants or come from immigrant families, and we can say that has nothing to do with me or my family, but yet we all live in a country that is shaped by what happened in this time period. Slavery. So we're going to talk a lot about slavery, quite a bit. Western expansion, a lot about immigration. We're going to get to talk shit about Texas for a minute. I have friends in Texas. I respect the Texans, but we can talk shit about them for a minute since we're in California. Just like they talk shit about us. And also we will talk shit about California too, because we're not everything we think we are. The Civil War, you'll notice, we will cover the Civil War in like one day, because I want to spend more time on Reconstruction. I think the US, the way it looks today, the way it's physically, like the way certain streets are located and who lives where, comes down to what people did after the Civil War during the Reconstruction period. So if we really want to understand the US today, we need to spend more time on Reconstruction and the story. And usually, honestly, in history, it gets left out because that usually after the Civil War is where people cut off. Usually you go on break after the Civil War. And then you come back and then people are like, oh, we have too much material to cover, and you end up leaving out Reconstruction. So we're going to try to spend a little bit more time with that. Janine, excellent. That's what I want to hear. I'm like, I love this history. And so I'm like, my goal, I know a lot of you are not good at history or you hate history. That's why you're taking this class, because it checks off a lot of the GEs. But I want to leave you with at least one thing, one meaningful thing that you can take away from this class. And then notice like this book that talks about experimentation on Black bodies, we're going to be talking quite a bit about that, about the Tuskegee syphilis study, and who's responsible when people and people's bodies are abused for the sake of science. We're going to talk about the world wars, but we're not going to do military history. We're going to talk about how they affect race relations in this country, the wars, because actually things changed dramatically after the wars. The civil rights movement essentially begins when soldiers return after World War II, and after decades of civil rights leaders fighting segregation, but things really intensify. Change starts happening after World War II. And we're not just going to talk about Martin Luther King, although he's very important. That's why we have buildings in our campus named after him. But I also, my life changed when I read Malcolm X's autobiography. I read him when I was really young. And so he put words to feelings I'd had as a young kid, that like it played such an important part in my life. Like I'm I'm a history person. I teach history. I loved reading since I was a young kid, but very few books, right? When you read a lot, very few books really change your life. But to me, the autobiography of Malcolm X, I think, changed my life, changed the way I viewed history, the way I viewed this country. And it's also history I really love. Everything that happens in the 60s and 70s is a big deal to me. And so the Black Power movement, the Black Panthers, we're going to be talking a lot about them. And then this is where I get really excited or I said this is before the fall break, but after halfway through the class, we're talking about the civil rights movement, which I really love talking about, and then the birth control movement. Again, though, we're not just going to talk about, yay, birth control. It's going to be race and ethnicity within the birth control movement. Eugenics. This is where we have plenty of critiques for California, because we were the leaders of the eugenics movement in California. And then forced sterilizations of Indigenous women, of Latina women, of Black women in different parts of the country. And abortion. I know this is on everybody's mind with the striking down of Roe v. Wade lately, and this is my area of expertise. My dissertation was on the French abortion movement of the 1970s, which is very related to the American movement and to different attitudes on abortion all over the world. The thing that I will emphasize before anybody freaks out, they're like, oh no, we're going to talk about abortion. One, that's not till later in the semester. But two, it's not one of the things that gets left out of the way we debate the political and legal issue of abortion is that it has a history. It has a history, and that gets left out of the debate. So my goal when we talk about abortion is to emphasize it has a history. I don't care what your political position is on abortion, really, as long as you can understand its history, right? And figure out how it fits in the way you think about the issue today. That's up to you, how it fits into your worldview, right? As long as you can understand the history, then you can see, do I need to change what I think, or does this fit within the way I view this issue? And then we're going to end with the documentary Belly of the Beast, which I've used several times in class before. And it's one of those things that like, you don't get taught about in school, but it's important, I think, those things. And here's the thing about being in college. Like there's things like this documentary, for example, that are not widely available to the public. They aired this documentary on PBS. Most people don't watch PBS, right? And right now, if you try to find it for free online, it's really hard to find. You can pay, right now it's available on like Amazon and Apple for like $4.99 or something like that. So it's a little bit more accessible than others right now, but still, who's gonna pay, $4.99 even for a documentary on a topic no one's ever heard of? Well, this is where we have a privilege with our association through the school. We're going to watch this documentary for free, right? We're going to watch this documentary for free. And we as students here, because of the university, because you're paying tuition and fees here, we have access to knowledge and resources that typically the general public doesn't, right? And so we're going to make use of it. The documentaries, the research engines and the research capabilities that we have access through the library. So there, so our midterm and final exam are not like, they're not multiple choice exams. They're not even, it's a paper you're gonna write. So that now that I've gone through all of this, what are your main questions? What are your main concerns that I can address now?
Sorry, just to clarify, it's nice to meet you, by the way. I'm looking forward to the class. So the main work for the class, I guess, would be the discussions and then also the papers.
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, those are the main thing, the main kind of work that you'll be doing. So it is weekly. Like I said, what most students tell me with the discussion board questions is that if you've attended class, they don't take long to answer. Yeah, leave it at that. And I walk you through most of the assignments. I try to be as clear as possible in class. And that's why I tell people you should be in class, because I'm very straightforward. I tell you exactly what I'm looking for, or at least I try to be as explicit as possible on what I'm looking for in assignments. All right, I'm like clear or clear as mud so far. Hopefully clear, but this is why this is being recorded. So if you ever need to refer back to it, or some of the things I'll be repeating. So I have a few more minutes before I tell you can log off. So I want to ask you then, all right, now that you've heard my spiel, talk about, you've heard me talk about some of the topics will be covered in. What are you most excited about learning in this class? Or what are you more worried about in this class? Because like it's a lot of history, it's a lot of material, it's a lot of weird things for some of you. For some of you, this is your first college history class or your first history class in a while. So what are the things, or what are you hoping we cover? Yeah, Katie.
I'm really excited. I think I wrote in my little like get to know me the nursing paper. I'm actually a nursing student, so I'm very excited. That's very relevant to me, and I've unfortunately, like in my own job, have seen a lot of practitioners and professionals act in unfortunate and incorrect manners, and just how can we address that and fix that within healthcare.
Yeah, and this is what I found from teaching this class and other classes, is that I had a lot of you who were in the nursing program or are pre-med or, biochemistry, all these medicine related fields. And there's a history of medicine where there's a lot of racism. There's still, if you look at like medical textbooks that they use, some of them are still very explicitly racist and wrong. Yeah. Rudy?
Is it just pure nursing, or would it be cover like some clinical social work, like a clinical stuff?
Okay. So I haven't looked at all the sources. Most of the sources, they're quite a different variety within nursing. But you're going to be looking at a specific project. There's a project in which people went out to interview people in the nursing field. So it was, I'm guessing it's going to be more specific to nursing. But those of you that are interested in like clinical sociology and stuff, I think you'll find a lot of things that overlap. Yeah, in terms of the history, to the history, because we'll talk about like how experiments are run and things like that. So you will be particularly interested in the readings from this book, the Medical Apartheid book, because it's a lot about the ethics of clinical trials, for example. Yeah. In the chat, some of you are saying you're excited about Malcolm X. If you've never dived into Malcolm X, then we are going to have so much fun. Yeah, I took a course when I was a college student called the Religious Ethics of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And then last semester, I taught the history of the Civil War class. And so I'm like, we're just going to have fun with Malcolm X. Casey says they're interested in learning the history of this country, the truth, because we get taught differently in high school than in university. Yeah, and honestly, it's not even the history teachers and K through 12's fault. They're under-resourced and underpaid, like severely underpaid. But there's a whole like political system and academic system where information and teaching materials and all that stuff doesn't always reach the K through 12 system. Yeah. Giselle is also looking forward to the nursing topic, but terrified of being bored of history. Okay, I will address the boring issue. You might still find me and the history boring. It's totally fine, but I think one of the things that I will try to not emphasize is dates and names. I am not somebody who's good with dates and names. And for a historian to tell you they're not good with dates and names, it sounds like a problem. But the thing is, you can Google dates and names. They've always been easily searchable. What matters is not the dates and the names, is the change over time, the compare and contrast. It's the analysis we do with the information. Um, let's see. Madison says you're excited to learn about the development of views on race in the United States. Yeah. We will look at that because I'm like, the way race was defined in 1400 or 1500 or 1600 is very different than the way we define race today. I mean, the way we define race, the way we talked about race 50 years ago in California is very different than the way we define it today. Just in like, since the civil rights movement, a lot has changed. Topics are pretty heavy. Oh yeah, oh. This class would not be a bad. I used to teach the history of violence class. I haven't taught that in a little bit, but that class I used to warn students. I was like, listen, have a YouTube video, a fun TikTok, something fun to watch after the class, because this is going to be really depressing. And in general, history tends to be really depressing. There will be a lot of depressing things here, but I also some not so depressing things. We'll try to balance it. Oh yeah, terrible small details. Oh yeah. But the thing to think about, by the way, those of you that are bored with history, is think of a story. We all like stories. If you like movies, if you like music, if you watch videos online, those are all stories. And so when we approach history as stories, all right, the stories of people, right, the stories of groups of people, then it becomes less terrible, I think. That's what interested me about stories. I was like, I was not interested in how the battle was won, what generals, what their strategy was. I was interested in how this affected families, right? How individual people coped with these things. Yeah. Anyone want to add something else that they might be excited about? Or not, or more worried about? I'm like, I will let you vent and tell me, oh no, this sounds terrible. See you never again. I'm dropping this class. Actually, don't tell me if you're dropping this class, just drop. Okay, so we'll end here. I'll get to know you more via the introduce yourself assignment. So a third of you have already completed it. The rest of you can go complete it whenever you want. It's due by Sunday. But you can go do it today after this class or later tonight, and then I can start getting to know all of you. So I'll let you go for now. Have a good rest of your day, and hopefully a good rest of the first week of classes, and I will see you on Thursday. Sound good?
Thank you, Professor.
No problem. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Professor.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. See already, Giselle, Dr. Cardona, A+.
I had a quick question,
Yeah.
Professor.
Yeah, of course.
So for week 2, the assignment, it's related to the chapter 2, right? That we're reading?
Yes, that chapter for that week.
Uh-huh.
And then there's stuff in the chapter that you won't find, like I'm going to talk about Pocahontas in class that week. And so that stuff is not in the reading, it's in the, we'll talk about it in class, but like half of the questions you can answer just with the reading, and then the other half will be in class.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Have a good
Thank
rest
you.
of your day. Any other questions? I'm waiting just in case there's a lag and seeing if anybody has questions. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna log off.